Hello, everyone. I'm Bo from Brutal Commentary, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. For those of you who follow my channel, well, since September of last year, I like to talk about other big sporting events and/or just big fights besides the UFC. Most of this has been coming in big boxing matchups, like say Crawford versus Canelo or something akin to that. But I also like covering other sports like Muay Thai, like how I cover one championship whenever they have an important fight and or title fight. But I've never actually really talked about many other MMA organizations. You can say one championship is one, that is true, but they do more, Muay Thai, kickboxing, submission grappling fights than they do MMA. So it gives me more stuff to talk about. But I've never really talked about, say, the PFL. To be honest, most of that is because some of their fights just don't really interest me as much. The last fight I can think of where I was really intrigued was when Francis Ngannou fought Renan Ferreira October of 2024. That was the last PFL event that really gripped my attention. But this one, this Saturday, March 28th in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, this one actually greatly intrigues me, and I'm very excited to talk about it. In the main event for PFL Pittsburgh, we have Johnny Eblen taking on Bryan Battle. This is going to be an interesting fight to break down because you have a proven elite wrestler in Johnny Eblen taking on a surging, high-pressure finisher in Bryan Battle. With that said, let's actually look at our two fighters. For Bryan Battle, he's 12-2 as a professional, 4-0-1 in his last 5 fights. That one being a no contest to Angelusa. In fact, you look at Bryan Battle's his last 5 MMA fights were all in the UFC. Knocked out Gabe Green, submitted AJ Fletcher, the no contest, like I mentioned, KO of Kevin Doucette, and most recently, December of 2024 at UFC 310, beat Randy Brown in a pretty close fight. Now, Bryan Battle was scheduled to take on Nuruzian Ruziboyev August of last year at UFC 319, but Bryan Battle badly missed weight and got cut by the promotion for it. I guess it does kind of make sense, even though he was on a good win streak. Most recently, Bryan Battle has been doing a lot of dirty boxing, which I've seen some of those. He's done pretty well. But now he returns to MMA after a year and 3 months. And he takes on the former PFL and Bellator middleweight champion, Johnny Eblen. For those of you who might not know, Johnny Eblen, as I mentioned, the former Bellator undefeated champion, mind you, beat some pretty good names, right? Fabian Edwards twice, Gegard Mousasi, Impa Kansangane. Johnny Eblen's a really good fighter. And for his entire career, he was always regarded as just one of the best middleweights in MMA, regardless of organization. Now, most recently, Eblen has hit the first loss of his career about 8 months ago to Costello Van Steens, I believe is how you pronounce it, where he was basically dominating that fight up until the last 30 seconds where he got caught in a rear naked choke. So now Johnny Eblen more or less is looking for redemption and looking to right the ship after the first loss of his career. So that's what brings this such intrigue. Now, with that said, let's get down to the breakdown. Starting with Eblen. As I mentioned, for a long time, he has been considered one of the best middleweights outside the UFC. And, skill for skill, it's not crazy to say that. A lot of Eblen's game is built around dominant wrestling, good top control, and physical strength. When Eblen's at his best, he completely shuts down his opponents. It can be boring at times. I'll say that. His second fight with Fabian Edwards was not fun. But it's dominant. It's control. And he, when at his best, can smash his opponents. A lot good at taking them down, holding them, and just grinding out rounds or just going for a stoppage. So for Eblen, he's not really a flashy fighter, but he is incredibly efficient. But of course, as I mentioned, in his last loss, besides getting caught late by that rear naked choke, he was winning the fight. And that's important because it shows that even in a dominant performance, there are still openings Johnny Eblen can leave for his opposition to take control of. Now, looking at Bryan Battle, he's going to be a very different kind of fighter. He's not as technically dominant in one specific area like Eblen, but Bryan Battle, he's durable, he's relentless, always pushing forward, always marching his opponents down. Usually, Bryan Battle thrives in a messy fight. He's got good cardio, good power. We've seen it in not just dirty boxing, though granted, he was mostly fighting cans in there, I will say. But we've seen in the UFC, he's got good power. Strong pressure, nasty clinch work, good dirty boxing as well. And I don't mean that as a pun. And Bryan Battle, he hits hard for sure. He makes his opponents respect him. And sorry. And for Battle, he's shown that he can finish fights, whether it's on the feet or just through accumulation. A lot of that, I say, is through his Kevin Jousset fight, where he won through attrition rather than just one-shot power. So looking at it stylistically, this is really going to come down to control versus chaos. Eblen wants the takedowns, top control, and either grind it out to a decision or possibly TKO and or submission. Bryan Battle, he wants the pressure, clinch exchanges, and a fight that gets uncomfortable and chaotic. The key question here is, can Bryan Battle stop the wrestling? Because if Eblen gets consistent takedowns and hold top position, he can absolutely win clear rounds. I will say, Bryan Battle, he's fought at welterweight, he's fought at middleweight. Eblen is by far the best wrestler he's ever fought at middleweight. You can argue who's the best wrestler he's fought, right? Because Bryan Battle got taken down consistently by Rinat Fakhretdinov at welterweight. Now, are Fakhretdinov and Eblen of the same level? Maybe not. I would think Johnny Eblen is maybe more skilled because he was a champion. So you can argue that Johnny Eblen is the best wrestler Bryan Battle has ever faced. So it'll be interesting to see if he can stop the takedown, especially considering he hasn't been threatened with them in quite a while. Now, here's the X factor. Eblen is the more proven, more consistent fighter, but Battle, I think, is riding more momentum. He's quite durable and has that ability to just make the fight ugly. And coming off that loss, there's some questions about how Eblen will respond mentally. Does he come back to being dominant, or is there some hesitation, right? It's always interesting to see how an undefeated fighter looks after coming off the first loss of their career, especially when they were a champion. So for my final assessment, technically, I think Johnny Eblen should probably win this fight. He's the better wrestler, more control, more consistent. But fights aren't always about who should win, because I think Bryan Battle's pressure, durability, and ability to create chaos makes him dangerous. And if he can force the scrambles, make Eblen work, and capitalize on moments, there is a path for an upset. Granted, I don't know what the betting lines are. They don't show it on Tapology. But I would assume Johnny Eblen's going to be the favorite in this fight, just being the more proven MMA fighter. But for my official prediction, I'm going to go with Bryan Battle here, and I'm going to pick him via TKO, or more so a late finish. I think Eblen's going to have success with his control, but I think as the fight goes on, Bryan Battle's pressure and pace start to take over, and I think he finds a finish in a messy exchange. So once again, I'm picking Bryan Battle to win, and I'm going to pick him via TKO. Well, that being said, that's been my breakdown of this matchup. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below on who you think's going to win. But until then, I've been Bo from Brutal Commentary. I thank you all for listening. And remember, stay calm, stay respectful, and enjoy the violence. I'll see y'all next time.